Nityanandam, thank you so much for tuning in. Alrighty, so today I'll be making a video for you all, again, based off of completion. So I've been sharing some videos with you all recently about the power of completion and how it's an important foundation for you to start expressing powers. And I was also sharing how much healing happens when we complete with certain incidents from our past, which have left us feeling powerless, and as a result have left in us certain powerless cognitions that we have about ourselves and others in life, and how much it helps heal a lot of suppressed emotion. When an incident happens that tends to leave us powerless, we don't know how to respond. So there tends to be a shrinking within ourselves. And a lot of the emotion that we're unable to deal with or unsure of how to express, we end up suppressing and bottling up inside, which we end up carrying within ourselves. And there's no real release of this negative energy from our nervous system. So all of these things I was sharing recently about completion. And I wanted to kind of go a little bit further into the whole topic of completion. And I wanted to kind of stress the importance of completion with others. So when we speak of completion, we know that it's the foundation for manifesting Shaktis, manifesting powers. When we are in this space of complete completion, knowing that there's nothing that can be added to me, there's nothing that can be taken away from me, when I'm in this powerful space of feeling connected with everything around me, rather than feeling like a fragmented individual entity, an island unto ourselves. When we feel this connectedness with everything, this is the space from which we manifest Shaktis. This is the space from which we are manifesting not just the reality that we want, but powerful cognitions. So the completion I was speaking about is completion within yourself. So when you have an incident, something traumatic, or not even necessarily traumatic, but something which, like I said, has impacted you in a very powerful way. So it's left something inside of you which has left you feeling fragmented. So obviously we need this kind of healing. We need it so that we're not dragging these past pains within ourselves and just assuming that the future will keep carrying the same default for us, which often happens when we're moving unconsciously, when we're thinking unconsciously. Because we attract what we believe, we will keep attracting the same situations time and time again. So this is the one kind of completion I was speaking about, is completion within yourself and healing that suppressed emotion and healing these powerless cognitions and shifting them to powerful ones. So restoring your space of powerfulness. Now, I wanted to share with you all about completion with others. Now, this specifically today, I wanted to share the importance of the completion with your parents. Now, I'm very blessed to have my Purvashram mum. So Purvashram means before ashram. Actually here in the Adinam right now. So she herself has taken sannyas the same way that I have, which took me completely by surprise. So after I had found Swamiji and was using a lot of the completion techniques and just watching his videos, following his satsangs, and imbibing a lot of what he was saying, tremendous healing happened. And I can say a lot of growth in terms of how much I was suffering with anxiety and depression, even verbalizing things to people. I used to be very much a recluse, and I would find it very difficult to have or maintain eye contact with people, or even have a conversation where I wouldn't, after a very short period of time, start feeling very self-conscious and as if I have nothing worthy of saying or sharing. And so I would just kind of like shrink into myself. So I had tremendous breakthroughs, especially in this regard. And this was really evident for my family, and this kind of sparked the curiosity in them of what it was that I was doing. And even though I was talking about Swamiji and sharing, trying to share his teachings and satsangs with them, there was an interest, but it kind of was falling on deaf ears. So after I came back from Inner Awakening, and my Purvashram mum saw how much of a transformation or how much of a shift she could perceive in me, she decided that yes, she had to experience the same. So I ended up enriching her for a weekend workshop, and then she had the taste of completion herself. So she understood what I'd been trying to share with her, that it's never the event outside of us that really matters. It's how we cognize that event. So any happening to us which can leave us feeling powerless, we always have an option of reacting in many different ways that don't have to necessarily leave us feeling powerless. And once she could see this for herself, she decided that yes, she needs to reclaim her life again. So she was suffering from many things herself, which I won't go into here because it's that's her story, and she can share that with the world. But I just feel so blessed to have a relationship with her that has extended into, see, I've taken this new path in life, and she's also taken a new path in life, and our relationship has shifted into something much sweeter because we're sharing a similar journey right now. And watching her progress, and I know her watching me and seeing me and how much I'm progressing, it's bringing tremendous completion within our relationship between one another. So before we took sannyas, it was I don't know if you want to call it a typical mother-daughter relationship, but we were best friends. I would do anything for her. I loved her more than anything. I know she would do anything for me and felt the same way. But any relationship will have its dysfunctions. So there were times where we would just irritate each other. And there were certain incidents from my past which I cognized and I perceived that had to do with her, which left me feeling powerless. So I remember during my inner awakening, one of the things that we had to do was completion with others. So, and completion obviously with parents was one of the big things. And I'll share this with you guys. I'm comfortable sharing with it because it's completed with now. It's something that I carried with me for many years, and I know it's probably a common thing for many, many people. So I always felt growing up that my mum, I have one younger sibling. I always perceived and I always thought that my Purvashram mum's connection with my brother was stronger than her connection with mine. I always felt like he was the favorite. There was some kind of favoritism, that she loved him more than she loved me for whatever reason. And it's not to say that I know she loved me. I know I was a spoiled kid, right? There was nothing that she wouldn't do for me. But in comparison to how she was with him, I could perceive a distinct difference. So there was one particular incident I remember in my childhood where we used to like to stay up sometimes when we were really young to watch movies that would be on late, like Batman movies, Superman movies, all these superhero movies, right? In Australia, they would always air them at like a later time in the evening. So this one particular time, my parents put us to bed early, just a little bit earlier, so that we could wake up and then watch this movie, and we wouldn't be tired for school the next day. So we went to sleep early, and I was so excited. I wanted to watch this movie. I could barely even sleep. And so I remember when my mum came in to wake us up, me and my brother were sharing bunk beds. When she came to wake us up, I was already awake, and she went to wake him up first. And when she was waking him up, She was kind of gently nudging him, and I was listening to all of this, and he had said in some like sweet little kiddish way, or, "Oh, don't wake me. I wanna sleep a little bit longer." And he tried turning himself around and going to sleep again. And she was sweetly waking him up, saying, "No, no, no, come on, it's time. You don't want to miss this movie." And it was just the way that I was listening to it. It was something that was, it was sweet, and I don't know. I felt like, ooh, I felt like I wanted the same. So next thing was for her to wake me up. And when she went to wake me up, I tried I tried imitating what my brother had done, saying, "No, I want to sleep a little bit longer." I also wanted to be woken up in kind of like a cutie Swedish way. But her reaction was totally different. So instead of doing the same thing to me as she had to him, she said, her words were, "Fine, if you want to stay in bed, you stay in bed. I'm not going to bother." And she walked out. And I was left there feeling like, wait, neither is this what I want. I want to wake up and watch this movie. Nor is it the same as what she did for him. It was a glaring difference. And it's not a big incident, right? It's not a big deal. But for me at that time, I think I was, how old would I have been? Let's say 9 years of age, something like that. It was like just a kind of a punch, and my perception was that, all right, she treats him differently to how she treats me, and it left this kind of a really strong idea that she'll always be sweeter to him than she is to me. And I carried this with me for many years. So anytime I would perceive any kind of a difference in how she related to him in comparison to me, it would just keep solidifying this idea. It would just kind of add to it. It was just this stamp of reassurance that, yes, see, she's treating him differently, and yes, see, there's a gap in our relationship. So I carried this with me for many years, and then during Inner Awakening, it was one of the things that stood out when I was looking in and seeing, what do I need to complete with when it comes to completing with my mum. And so not just, see, one thing is writing the incident, reliving the pain and relieving it, but then a part of completion with others is you then pick up the phone. So once you've relived and relieved the pain of the incident, you pick up the phone and then you actually have a verbal conversation with whoever it is that you're completing with. The point of the conversation is not to blame them for what they've done to you, to make them feel bad, to put them down. It is simply you are taking responsibility for healing any past hurt that you have, and making the other person understand that an incident happened where you were involved. Because of this incident, I created a powerless cognition, and sharing what this powerless cognition is, and just simply saying that I'm taking responsibility for my healing. And in order for me to heal with this incident, I need to share with you what cognition was created as a result of this event. So it's nothing to do with blaming anyone. It's nothing to do with making them feel bad. It's simply you sharing that you are taking responsibility for your healing. So one of the beautiful things that happened was when obviously I reached out to her and I was sharing this with her. Again, I was not wanting to make her feel bad. I shared with her the same way that I've verbalized here, that this incident happened, and as a result, it left me feeling that she doesn't love me as much, or she has a sweeter relationship with him than she does with me. And it opened up the channel of communication where then she was able to express, see, she didn't remember this incident, number one, and then giving her her version of what would have happened or what had happened, or it just allowed this channel of her to express to me certain things that helped me in my healing from that pain that was there. So especially when it comes to your parents, they're such an integral role in your growing up and you becoming who you are at the end of your, not at the end of your life, what am I saying? Who you are today will be based off of a lot of how they've raised you and how they've treated you. So it's obviously very important to have completion with this massive portion of your life. So I encourage everyone to take on completing with others really sincerely. You can also do it even if the person is not in the body. So even if the person has passed away from you, now obviously the channel of communication won't be there, but it's beneficial for you to still verbalize, even if you're verbalizing to a wall, even if you have to sit in front of a wall, for example, and just express whatever suppressed emotion is there for your healing. Like I said, completion and all of these techniques that Swamiji is sharing with the world are simply for healing the being, for the being to understand that it is not fragmented like it thinks. It's not, it doesn't have to suffer the way it believes. We don't have to suffer the way we believe. We are always powerful. We just need to shift our cognition from powerlessness into powerfulness, and that can be difficult to do if we're carrying a lot of pain within us. So the healing has to happen first before the powerful cognitions can start happening. So like I said, I'm very blessed to have my oh man, I've smudged my makeup, my eyeliner. Okay, that's pretty. Alrighty, so I'm very blessed to have my Purvasha mum here sharing this journey with me. And even if you have like some kind of resistance with your parents initially, if they're not really understanding what it is that you're doing, or they're reluctant in playing part in this, or whatever it is, I tell you, once you decide to take responsibility for your completion, and just you having that decision to reach out to them, automatically a healing will happen in them. Even if you haven't spoken to them for years, even if it's a rocky relationship, or you just don't even know how to reach out to them, you don't even really want to, for the sake of your healing, for the sake of your inner peace, just by you taking the decision and the responsibility to shift this and to try and breach this gap, you'll see how the universe will respond to you and how the universe will help this healing happen. I've seen it so many times with so many people, and if this resonates with you, I ask that you please give it a try. If you have any questions on how to do it, or if you want to know more details on how, like, what is an appropriate way to reach out to someone if you're not sure, and it doesn't have to be with your parents, but maybe there's someone else that's left a lot of pain in you and you're not quite sure how to approach them or what to do with the situation, feel free to leave me a comment or a message, and I'm happy to reach out to you personally. I can give you some guidance, or I can even make another video for you. So this is one part of inner awakening. This is one of the things that we do. We do completion within ourselves, and then we do completion with others. So once you start tasting this life of completion, it becomes like your very breath. You see in every situation how you can complete with it. If there's something that's leaving you feeling agitated or frustrated, you can see, how am I cognizing this situation? How can I cognize it differently? And it's just, it's this program Swamiji is offering, it's unlike anything else. And I wouldn't be speaking about it so much if I hadn't have transformed so much, and if I didn't know that it was the key out for so many people to get out of their suffering. So on that note, I will leave a open invitation for you all to please come and try out Inner Awakening. We have one coming up in this September, we have one coming up in November, and then we have a inner awakening, which won't be based off of like completion of what we're doing. It'll be purely about manifesting powers, purely about the third eye and expressing Shaktis on a really grand scale, which will be in December, called Mahasara Shivoham. So if you're interested in any of these things, I have a link beneath for Inner Awakening. And if you have any questions about it, you can absolutely reach out to me and I'll help you out in any way that I can. Alright, so thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all again very soon. Nityananda.